I'm Dawson Cochran, and today I have some special guests with me.
Hey, my name is Brendan Dona. I'm the singer and screamer for my band, For No Reason.
Hi, my name is Ozzy Summers, also known as Osmosis, and I am the guitarist and vocalist for No Reason.
Hey, I'm Alex Asawi, and I'm the drummer and producer of For No Reason.
And I'd like to start off by asking, what inspired you guys to form this band?
Over the years, we've listened to a lot of genres of metal, post-hardcore, metalcore, sometimes deathcore too, but post-hardcore and early metalcore really spoke to us more. And me and Ozzy are in a deathcore band, but we also want to make a band that was more calm and less heavy, so we've been inspired by Get Scared, Famous Last Words, and Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and we were like, let's make this happen. Let's make another band with more members, because Death's Grin is our other band that's deathcore, which just only consists of me and Ozzy.
Interesting to hear. And I'd like to talk about how all of us started getting into metal, so...
I'm more than happy to talk about this. So, it's so weird how I started metal for me. I mean, I was always into the 80s. My dad was a rocker. He never had a musical background, but he loved glam metal, Rat, Scorpions, Dokken, and Whitesnake. Dokken and Whitesnake are his two favorite bands of all time. And I've been listening to them. My mom listens to that stuff too, but she's always been into the 80s, disco stuff and pop stuff. But I've always more intrigued with my dad's side. And, I used to watch a lot of WWE, which a lot of metal bands usually play their theme songs a lot. And I discovered Edge, which was Alter Bridges. I can't remember the name of the song. We played it earlier.
Metalingus?
Yeah, that was Edge's theme song. Triple H, The Game. And then I went to Guns N' Roses, discovered the Appetite for Destruction album, and I fell in love since then. High school, I figured out a band called Keen 810. I discovered the heavier roots from them, and ever since then, upon Burning Body, then leading all the way to now. And here we are.
Well, obviously, my name is Ozzy. I was actually named after Ozzy Osbourne. My dad is a guitarist in a metal band, so I come from a family of metalheads. So I was raised on classic rock. Like, my dad's favorite bands are The Doors and Black Sabbath, so I got that really classic and then that classic metal roots. And then I remember right around 2010, 2011, when the screamo stuff started to hit the scene really hard, my sister, who's 4 years older than me, she was really into that stuff. So I remember being a little kid, 9, hearing screamo for the first time and being like, what? That's so weird. Why are they screaming? Talking on it, and then go turn and listen to 3 Days Grace, where he's using, he's still technically screaming when he's yelling, it's the same process. But literally, I see myself a couple months later, the first screamo song I ever listened to, Diamonds Aren't Forever by Bring Me the Horizon, I caught myself listening to that when I was 10, so that's what put me on the heavier stuff after that.
Funny enough, my big brother used to listen to a lot of metal when I was really young, and I didn't really, notice it at the time. I wasn't really that big into music. My family has no musical background, so there's not really much there. They're from the Middle East, so I would hear Middle Eastern music sometimes and stuff like that. But I never really got into metal until recently. I started hearing old songs I remember my brother playing when I was really young. Some really heavy metal stuff, some Marilyn Manson stuff, all over the charts kind of stuff, And so from there, I started listening to random bands. I found Avenged Sevenfold again, which reintroduced me to distorted guitars and heavy drums like that, and then I just it went downhill from there, More and more metal. You get into and then I started getting to the gent and progressive metal stuff. Dream Theater got me into progressive side of things, Periphery got me into gent, which is really confusing. And then I went backwards to Lamb of God, groove metal, and it just kept going,
Very interesting to know. Personally, me, I mostly got into it probably around maybe middle school, listening to Ozzy or Black Sabbath, Metallica, Marilyn Manson, and Slipknot. Wanted to get into our thoughts about this Pantera reunion, quote unquote.
It's cool. Phil and Rex reuniting again, but in my opinion, I wouldn't call it Pantera. It's not Pantera without Dimebag, and
I suppose that's fair. But I honestly, I kind of love some tributes, and I love Pantera.
Right.
Benny Paul is amazing. Dimebag they were both incredible musicians, and the band is great. You can't just not make a tribute to a band like that. Right. I've never seen a Pantera tribute before that. And Zakk Wylde was a very close friend of Dimebag, and he's an amazing guitarist, and he has a very similar playing style, especially with the pentaharmonics and stuff like that. So I feel like they did pick a perfect guitarist for it, And I'm not sure about the other two members. I don't really remember who they were.
The drummer, I think,
Charlie Benante from Anthrax is the drummer.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
that one, yeah, I can
That
see
makes
that
a
one.
lot of sense.
he's a good
Yeah.
drummer too.
Yeah, so
to a
honestly,
certain degree.
I'm all for the Pantera reunion. I'm all for it.
I mean, I'm all for it too. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad they're doing this after
Oh, yeah.
so many years.
Oh yeah.
I just think they should make it more clear that it's a tribute
Yeah.
more than a reunion.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. This.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I gotta just agree with you, Alex. There, like, it couldn't be a better choice than Zach there, and especially now knowing that it's the drummer from Anthrax, that makes even more sense. I think at least knowing that they picked the right people, it would be one incredible show to see and one to not forget, regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah, and still, it's people that were close to the band, the original band members.
Of course.
So that's very important as well. So.
And this next song is actually, it's not a metal song, but it's a soft song, kind of emo, grungy song. It's Alive by For No Reason. And I'd like you guys to tell our dear listener about it.
Yeah, you definitely had that right. It was a little bit of a grungy song because, like I said, a lot of my inspirations are post-grunge 2000s metal rock bands, and this one's a little bit of a slower song. I actually wrote this song about 7 years ago when I was about 14, 15. The song came from a really dark place. It was everyone in that time was going through their moody teenager time, so
Yeah, for real.
the song's about struggling and addiction and, just depression and struggling and, finding that thing that keeps you going. And it means a lot to me to be able to finally do this and have this out here because, it was a long time coming. And I'm glad that I had my good friend Brendan here to poke me with the hot rod and put the fire under my butt.
Back in the day, he even introduced me to the song. I don't know, he played that riff again. I could have swore I heard it before that he told me. I told him, we're making an EP right now called Some Kind of Sickness. And the first song's called Heart Solidly Dies, where there's a demo version on our YouTube. And Alive would have been the second one because, the first song is about heartbreak. You've been heartbroken. And now Alive, it sums up, you're heartbroken, you're depressed, you're going back to this addiction, you're in either whatever addiction it is that puts you in a dark place. And the third one would be called Healing, which is the recovery state. You learn to move on, learn to be happy, love your ringtone, Ozzy, and to be just free and do whatever you want to do and live happily.
Now I remember hearing about you guys doing a little music festival, so would you like to talk about that?
Yes, sir. Halloween's Eve in 2023, me and Ozzy have been in talks about making our own festival called Plague Fest, which will be leading up to Death's Grin headlining tour after called the Eternal Plague Tour. This festival, it means a lot to us in so many ways, because we've always wanted to host events. Not only perform and create, but we also wanted to host it while performing this. And this came about recently, actually, and we have brought up ideas, and I can tell he's got the ideas ready, and so I know a few, but he's got added more over time that I didn't know about yet.
Yeah, so I was trying to think of ways to bring people in, and, we had ideas like a beer chugging contest. We thought maybe about setting up some wooden ramps and whatnot for skate and BMX stunts. People can come and do a little contest for that. And then since it's Halloween, we'll have a costume contest. And what we really want to do is set up a little field. It depends on how much room we can get. But if so, then we will also set up a little airsoft field for paintball guns and airsofts. And then mostly we're gonna have a little food coloring surprises, like food coloring wars, if you've ever seen those. Little surprises like that, a couple more giveaways, and just a couple little more fun things for people to enjoy while they listen to the music, and also local vendors and more stuff like that we're trying to get set up right now.
This was inspired by many festivals. Warped Tour, we wanted to make it as fun as Warped Tour, but nothing can beat Warped Tour.
For sure. There's also a local festival that I went to recently called Full Terror Assault. It's in Cave and Rock. It's a death metal festival. And I saw the crowd there, and it was just such an amazing feeling of all the people there for the same reason, for the love of music. And we're trying to just capture that and get people in the local scene that feel kind of left out for all the music around here and the lack of the music like that we do.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
This is all meant for local bands. You want to get out there, talk to us. And we got the bands already registered in. 7, Death's going to be headlining the first night because it's a 2-night event. Death's going to be headlining, then all 7 other bands will be playing after, followed by my solo music and Curse X10. Second night, For No Reason will be headlining with another set of 7 locals. that I became friends with for the past few years.
And so this time I was wanting to ask you guys about your specific like musical influences on your instrument. Like who do you get your playing styles from, and what inspired you to play?
A lot on the guitar, like you'll hear in the next couple songs with the Alive, especially my softer stuff. I am a big David Gilmour fan, especially when it comes to the leads, when it comes to just feeling the lead and feeling the guitar. It's not about solo and being flashy, it's about feeling what you're playing, especially like Jimi Hendrix. You hear what he's playing, you hear him feel it, you don't just hear the notes, you hear him with the emotion.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of like what I've been striving for. A lot of bands like Seether, like Chevelle.
Deftones.
I like, Deftones. I like a lot of 2000s that has that atmosphere, like Tool and whatnot.
Yeah, Tula is pretty good.
Oh yeah. Now I started out drumming. I actually was in band since I was in 5th grade, and I was too small to play drums back then. They put me on clarinet to start out with, and so they finally switched me to snare drum like halfway through the year, because I was a tiny guy. I've always been a tiny guy, but I didn't really get that much into drumming until about 2020, and I started listening to different music, and I started listening to Avenged Sevenfold. And that's where my drumming really started, where I really wanted to start getting into it and actually learning a drum set. I got to start drumming in jazz band and stuff like that. And Avenged Sevenfold, the Rev, Mike Portnoy, those two really started me on my big path to learning drums. And I started listening to even more complex drummers like Mario Duplatier from Gojira, Thomas Hawk from Meshuggah, stuff like that. And that's where my big metal drumming roots come from. I really love hearing those two drum. But everything also started with Ringo Starr from the Beatles. I remember hearing the Beatles when I was young, and everyone knows Ringo Starr.
Yeah, a lot
He's
of
everywhere.
people are influenced by Ringo Starr.
Yeah, exactly. So everything kind of started from Avenged Sevenfold, ironically enough, even though, it's Avenged Sevenfold, but their drumming's amazing, so I can't help it.
And what about you, Brendan?
I've always had a thing for people, how they perform their vocals, either from singing or screaming. For me, it all started from Guns N' Roses, Kiss to Motorhead. In a singing standpoint, it was definitely Kiss and Van Halen on Sammy Hagar's side. But screaming, I really got into it when I first heard Motorhead for the very first time. And this was from WWE. Because Triple H had Motorhead play his theme song.
Yeah, the game.
Yeah, so King of Kings, Evolution.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, how does he do that? I don't know how a human being could do that until, I don't know, I tried to do it. I pulled it off for a while. Then, probably around age 16, I started discovering all these other bands from screaming standpoint, Then around 2019, 2020, I discovered Get Scared, Famous Last Words. I Sign Kills. I Motions to Wide a little bit more than when I first discovered them, and I knew lyrically and vocally I wanted to do this. My lyric style was based off Nicholas Matthews and Jeremy Tolis, which is from Nick is from Get Scared, Jeremy's from Famous Last Words, and their lyric style, what they've been through in their past, either from good times and bad times. I was inspired by that the most. And vocally, for me screaming, it's mainly about the emotions for me. If I scream something, it's for a reason. Now when I sing something, it's from the heart more than anything. My lyrics and my voice is coming from the heart, just like Alex, he drums because that's what he loves to do.
Exactly.
It's from his heart. Ozzy, he plays because that's what he wants to do, and he's passionate about what we do.
Yes, as all music should be in. And so specifically to Ozzy and Brendan, and also I suppose Alex as well, I want you guys to talk a little bit more about some of the other musical projects you have outside of For No Reason.
Outside of Death Screen and For No Reason, I do trap metal, which is basically half metal and half rap stuff, like Ghostmane, Scarlord, and Kim Dracula, and all those other trap metal artists. I do that besides the metal because I do DJ work. I make dubstep music, I make beats too, and I just got into it. So I already have an album coming up called Masked Down that Osmosis over here will be featured in the majority of the songs that I have. It consists of 18 songs.
And aren't you doing like a DJ collaboration with dubstep collaboration with someone else as well? Like
Yes. Brandon Sepp, known as DJ Dreamscape.
What's that called again?
DJ Dreamscape.
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
I also have my personal band called Cynical, as well as I do my solo music, like he mentioned, Osmosis. That's my rap. You can find me on SoundCloud. Yes, of course, like every other rapper. And I also, I'm in a local band around here called Ori Crawl. We're actually playing a concert Saturday at Chappie's. So I like to play guitar in that band. So that's about it.
Nice. And Alex, I'd like you to talk a little bit about producing.
So I started producing actually a couple of years ago. Brandon started getting me into this kind of stuff. I started drumming a lot. Out of high school, I started getting into playing drum sets, and then I wanted to record myself playing drum covers. So I looked it all up online. I went through the whole process of setting everything up, getting an audio interface, buying a DAW, which I chose Studio One for. Great choice, by the way. But I went through all of that just to not really release very much because I wasn't confident enough in my abilities to start releasing stuff. And every time I would think I'm going to release something, I just wind up don't. So Brandon gave me a really good stepping stone to start producing some stuff for him and some stuff for our little band for no reason, like a live I produced, which will be featured later on the show. Mm-hmm. And so I started getting into that, learning compression, the equalization, everything, all of it, saturation. It's a lot of work and a lot of learning and a lot of sitting there studying everything, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I agree too. If it wasn't for Alex, I don't think For No Reason would go any further releasing wise. Because this all started from doing a cover that kind of got scrapped over time because we didn't really have the decent materials at the time until we hired Ozzy to be part of this. So if it wasn't for Alex and Ozzy and basically all the ideas we all came up with, we wouldn't get much further than we have already been for the past 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, Alex is secret, the backbone of the band.
Yeah,
really, you know.
I can imagine.
I have to control these two.
Yeah.
You can only imagine how tracking is with them.
Yeah, I've kind of already noticed that.
All right, buddy, all right.
Anywho, and Brendan, I'd like to ask you, I did a little bit of research on you, and I found out you're in this little trap metal kind of dubstep group called Curse X10. Would you like to tell the listener a little bit about that?
First of all, I'm flattered you looked me up. I am flattered.
Yeah.
And second of all, yes, this was regarding to the comment you said about DJ Dreamscape collaboration I'm with. We made this band a few months ago. We wanted to combine our music styles together, my metal lifestyle and his DJing, because he does EDMs and dubsteps, and he does rock too. But he has a good fashion of EDMs. And I told him, let's make a collaboration. One of the two best DJs for TikTok/Instagram that we've been known for, and make some metal out of it. And we've already released an album called The Cursed Ones. That one song that's featured Ozzy before he joined Curse X10 called Evil Dawn. Let's check that out on YouTube. One of the best songs off the album.
Yeah, which is actually a funny story. It was like actually how I joined is that he showed me Evil Dawn and he had me featured on the track. And just the chorus to that song hit so good that I think he showed it to Brandon and they kind of went over it, and then I was like, you know, like, I'd love to join and just, you know, do that with you guys. And they're like, dude, that chorus is so great. Like, yes, please. And then it became another list under the belt that me and him are doing together.
Yeah, we're still for each other. What's so good about, after this album release, we took a break for probably a month or two. Then out of nowhere, we got something coming up soon. I will not say what it is, but be ready to hear something very different than what the first album did sound like.
Interesting. I'd like to end off this last Banger Head show of 2022 by asking you all, what is your advice for people who are wanting to become musicians or join a band?
For me, my advice would be just practice and keep looking, because me personally, I went through this long phase in my life where I thought that, like, there's nobody around here that I can form a band with. Like, I thought I was in the middle of nowhere and that I'm not going to meet anyone that has the same feeling as me. But then I went out here to the bash and I met Brendan, my now best friend, and me and him went on to go music. So don't doubt yourself. There's people out there that want to do music with you. You just got to find them, and in the meantime, keep practicing. And practice your craft and love it.
I gotta say, practice, obviously, for mainly the musician side, but also for the producer side. I will say something on that. Gear is not the biggest thing. You don't need that much gear. You can do plenty with a budget microphone, like say a Shure SM57 or something like that. You can do God's work with that. It's an incredible microphone. But gear is not the most important thing. Don't focus on that. Focus on practice. Focusing on listening to yourself. You want to know how you sound. Record yourself playing, record yourself producing, re-listen to your records or whatever. Anything you can do to hear yourself and hear your improvement as you improve slowly. Because naturally you'll just get better. Sometimes you won't practice something and you'll just get better. And you don't know how that happened, but it's because you practice it. So just practice.
Well, of course, practice. That's the main important thing for every musician or anyone who starts a band, is just practice. And for me, if you want to be a vocalist, find your sound. Don't do something because it sounds cool. Do what you think, actually know what you believe you can do, and that you can easily do, and just practice it no matter what. If you want to write lyrics, think of what, because I'll give you good advice for lyric writing. Think of your past a little bit, good or bad. It could be anything you want to talk about, and just sing from the heart or scream to the top of your lungs. But, you know, I was in Ozzy's position before this whole thing happened. I thought I was the only metalhead in this college, or at least in the major I'm in right now. But at the time, I met Ozzy, who is not my best friend, but to him it's best friend, but to me, he's my brother. You know, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't see me do anything. I would just keep searching, just somehow, maybe, unfortunately, down the road, I can at least get somewhere, but, you know, just practice. Don't assume that you're going to be good, because you'll always be good no matter what. Mm-hmm. If you put your heart and mind to it, you'll get somewhere. I promise you. It may take a long time, but I promise you from the bottom of my heart, you will get there.
And it's okay to be bad. You will get good eventually. You'll sound bad in the beginning. Everybody does. But
Always.
It's okay to be bad. Just keep going. Don't break yourself down.
Let that inspire you.
Just believe in yourself.
Yep. Very, very inspiring and very, very good advice. Anything else you all like to add before we end off tonight's show?
Prepare for a new Death's Grin album coming up and a solo album for me. I like how X.
Check out my solo music at Osmosis on SoundCloud, and thank you.
And also, we have a YouTube channel of a record label called Demon Claw Records, where you'll hear for no reason and Death's Grin music.
And I'm just really happy to be here. I appreciate being here completely. If anybody
problem.
around the Evansville area needs a drummer, then hit me up somehow. I have a phone number, 618-383-4621. Hit me up. I'll be your drummer.
Basically, what he's saying, he's leaving for no reason.
No. I just want to drum, bro. I just want to drum.
That's fair.
Gotta get that practice in.
Yeah, man.
Hey, how else to advertise myself?
All right, to end off this last Bang Your Head show of 2022, it'll be Face Down by Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Catch you either the first week of January or the second week of January. Only here on Bang Your Head on 89.1 The Batch.